welcome to the all-new Range Rover. It is of course the king of the luxury car SUV world. In fact, it's the first, it's the original, it's the one that created the whole concept back in the early 70s, and now we're talking about the latest generation car. So if you're not wondering, it doesn't look that different from the old one. Of course, it's all different under the skin. So it's the new MLA Flex architecture, which is 80% aluminum all the way through. It's 50% stiffer. And in fact, despite being a great big blocky SUV, it's got a 0.30 aerodynamic coefficient, which is a very fancy way of saying that is extremely slippery. Now, there are of course all the prerequisite engines and technology and advancements, but rest assured, this is a Range Rover. So let's take a quick look and see what that means. But first of all, have a look at how amazing it is. A brand new Range Rover. These don't come along that often. As you can see, I've actually got my phone out, which is tagged because it is an embargo zone at the moment. By the time you see this, pictures of this car will be all over the internet, and as they should be, because of course Range Rover is a big deal. This is the car that everybody wants to own, and come this fashion season, everybody will be owning a Range Rover. So what have we got under the hood of this car? Well, we don't actually know what's under the hood of this car because this is of course an early production vehicle, and it doesn't matter. What matters is there's going to be an electric version, a completely electric Range Rover. That's in 2024. No details on that now, but expect the usual range and so on, long batteries under the skateboard body, the typical Range Rover thing. Or it could be a completely different spaceship that goes underwater. Who knows? What I can tell you is there'll be a 6-cylinder plug-in hybrid version. I've got my phone out just to make sure I got all the details right. That one has a 100-kilometer range. So actually for most people, it'll do their daily commute. It also do a top speed of 140, which almost seems kind of designed for the Middle East, doesn't it? That one has a 38 kilowatt battery, in case you're wondering, and a combined output of, hold on to it, 510 horsepower and 720 Newton meters. That is a lot of juice for an electric vehicle. CO2 output of less than 30 grams per kilometer, and it charges that 100-kilometer range in up to 80% in less than an hour. Now, there is of course a standard petrol version as well. It is a 4.4-liter V8, so you people who like your dinosaur juice, you're going to be covered as well. Twin turbos, 530 horsepower, 0 to 100 in under 5 seconds, 4.6 to be exact. And of course, there'll be a mild hybrid version as well. Now for other markets, they're getting diesel, etc. We don't care. But I think for this car, since it's so futuristic and future forward, why not get the plug-in hybrid version? I know that people want the V8, but the performance is almost the same. In a 100-kilometer range, if I was buying a car like this, I'd be thinking, I'd want to be electric as much as possible, because why wouldn't you want the quietest Range Rover that's ever been made? So in terms of design, we're not talking about a revolution, but more evolution. So what have we got? We've got, of course, the classic Land Rover shape, but it's been completely smoothed off like a pebble that's been sitting in a river for eons. It has almost no sort of extrusions to it. Whereas the old car was a very handsome thing, and this kind of takes that look. And to be honest, if you look at this graphic down here, this is the way that Range Rover is always going to look, this sort of strong rising shoulder line, the floating roof, and now the big wheels. Now if you notice, this graphic here is important, this kind of U-shaped graphic. In the old car, it was a hockey stick. There is a big change, but it's at the back. So people who are in the tail view of a Range Rover, which honestly most of us, are going to notice the big difference. But yeah, at the front, not a huge difference. You've got this very interesting new honeycomb grille effect, and of course the new headlights, which are super flush, 1.2 million pico projectors or something like that. Basically it'll see very well in the dark. So the old car had a bit more of what would I describe it, a bisected view down the middle, but this got this big character line down here, and of course your usual lower lights, cameras, sensors, everything is down here. But I quite like this because it gives it a very architectural piece. This feels very much like a sort of thing that a Frank Gehry would have, very, very building-esque statement. And Range Rover ultimately is meant to be strong, solid. It doesn't follow trends, it sets trends. Where the similarities are with this headlight down here. So this one actually extends out. In the old car, just starting to extend, but eventually this is just going to go all the way down the entire car. It's a very, very strong look. And of course, you've got the big wheels down here as usual. There will be 1,000,001 finishes. And of course, there's SV, which is actually launching for the first time with this car as well. Normally SV comes after a little while, but we're getting SV right off the bat. So if you come down the side, this is that U-shaped graphic. Very interesting. And I kind of didn't like the old hockey stick, so I'm down with this whole U-shaped thing down here. Pretty much the same. If you look to the two old car and new car side by side, you'd be almost, forgiven for thinking exactly the same. This is interesting. No, hold on. So this should retract, but actually in the normal car, it's completely flush. So the idea is that there's absolutely nothing detracting from the body. In fact, they've gone to crazy lengths to basically make this car not stick out. Like normally there's sort of aerodynamic finishers here. This thing is completely clamped to the body, so it is unbelievably smooth all the way down. Same rising character line, of course, as you always get in a Range Rover. You never confuse this for any other car. However, the back is where things start to get very interesting. Here we are at the back of the new Range Rover, where, to be honest, it's all changed. It looks mostly the same, but what they've changed is the graphic. So before you had traditional tail lights, and here in fact you've got this crazy batarang down here which hides all the indicators. So yeah, these do light up in sort of this cool, it's hard to describe, but it's sort of a waterfall that opens upwards, and hopefully I'll have a video to show how that looks. Where are the indicators? They're actually hidden down here. There you go. Range Rover, as always, maintains the traditional, and some would say useful, clamshell approach. Let's see if I can open it. One shot. Open it, he said. And it opened eventually. And you've got this, the tailgate. Now, in the back, reasonable amount of space. I mean, there's going to be 7-seat version. This isn't it. This is the short wheelbase version, but the usual sort of luggage space that people are looking for. It does have something very cool. Now, you can always sit on here, which is good when you're hunting. Poor people, I guess. And then this comes out and gives you somewhere to sit. I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable place to sit in the world, but it gives you a backrest. So that is quite thoughtful. I suppose when you're on your beach on your private island and you want to look out over the beautiful blue azure waters while your servants prepare lunch, this is a nice thing to have. Let's see what the rest of the interior is like. To be in the back of the Range Rover is to really understand what money is all about. And I'm talking about real money, old money, as opposed to new money, not your Bitcoin millionaires or crypto cash fiends. We're talking about people who actually have money had for a long time. This is the kind of people who are not going to be buying Mercedes or BMWs or, heaven forbid, an Audi. A Range Rover is a car for people who really have had money for quite a long time and know what they want. And the JLR people know exactly what these people want, which is more space, more comfort, and solitude, to be completely isolated from the world. So you might think the interior is too big, too gauche. The exterior hasn't really changed that much, but that is completely missing the point. So they'll be in the back of the Range Rover, which, by the way, is bigger. So this one has 75mm long wheelbase, which is a very fancy way of saying there's more space in here. In fact, in the 7-seat version, which this isn't, you get up to 1 meter of rear legroom. 1 meter. You probably fill your swimming pool with 1 meter. I mean, how much space do you need? This is the 4-seat executive class version, and it is really quite spacious, really quite comfortable. You have all the controls in the world, but it is just so nice. You sit a little bit higher than the people in front, so it's kind of that opera seating thing. You've got a massive panoramic sunroof. You don't have anything as ridiculous as rear seat entertainment. You're not going to be looking at screens here with your kids showing their latest, ballet recital or YouTube. This is just a place for silence, because when you go to work and your driver, who we'll call Jeff, is not going to talk to you and ask you how your day is. You will be sitting here on your phone and making deals, cutting records, or changing the fate of the world. But it has still a few gadgets and gizmos. Let's have a quick look at them. So, gadgets and gizmos. Well, we've got a screen here that covers all of your basics of seats and so on. You can have seat heat because it gets very cold in the Middle East. You can adjust everything, the recline, etc. Oh, hold on. Gives you a bit more rear front leg room so you can push your passenger out of the way. I mean, it's kind of a chauffeur thing, but it's so cool. The fact that you can do that is quite handy. Let's see what else you got here. Climate control, so you can do climate vents, air quality. So this car has a purification system from Panasonic. It's called Nano X, and they claim that it can actually target SARS-CoV. It's basically a very fancy filtration system. I'm not complaining. What's the harm? Even if it doesn't, it better have something. It's like buying a face mask, right? You've got lots of lighting options. Dynamic red. All of this stuff may not work because this isn't a working prototype car completely. Blinds, etc. You can drag the blind and nothing happens because this is a prototype car, but you get the idea. And of course, whoa. There we go. Everything is electrified, and when I say everything is electrified, which really gives me pause for how this is going to work in about 10 years. Where are the cup holders? The most American of things in a car. Where are the cup holders? Press this button. Wait approximately 30 years. I don't know why this had to be electric, but it's electric. That's kind of fun. So yeah, it's finally open, right. cup holders, and a little table to keep stuff. And of course, it is made of the finest wood from the finest trees, I guess. But yeah, you've also got space, and hopefully I can show this, to keep your phone. Not very well, but you can keep your phone. By the way, if you've got one of those big Pro Max phones, it's not fitting here. So it's either a very small iPad or a place to hold a deck of cards. Let's see what the driver's seat's like. So this is the main driver's cockpit of the Range Rover. And to be honest, a lot of drivers aren't driving themselves these days, but if you are, Range Rover is not a bad thing to drive. So you've got 500 horsepower engines regardless, whether you're going for the 6-cylinder hybrid version or the V8 twin turbo. And why not spoil yourself and get the V8, or be green and get the electric car? I don't know. Doesn't make a difference, because these aren't driver's cars in the traditional sense. These are cars for traversing long distances comfortably, quietly, with a minimum of intrusion from the outside world. And on top of that, not being bothered by things like, peasants, and also having crazy off-road capability. But it's very interesting that in this entire presentation we went through, nobody really talked about the things that a Range Rover is good at. The whole point of a Range Rover in the beginning was that it was a gentleman's car. It was also a farmer's wheelbarrow. It could do everything. I have no doubt the new Range Rover can, on paper, do all those things. But this interior is so unbelievably nice. You're not going to be driving through the desert to get to your farm. You have a pickup for that, or you're not going to be dragging your muddy valleys through here. It's just so unbelievably nice. You've got these beautiful new materials. They moved towards sort of a vegan approach. You can get a very, very nice vegan leather. There's something that starts with a K. I'm going to try to remember what it is. Quadrat. It's like a new woolen fabric. It's incredibly breathable, and it doesn't get hot, and it absorbs moisture, so it's just really comfortable. But this is just a really, really comfortable car. What is interesting is that they have changed what didn't work. And what I mean by that is they tried a lot of stuff in the last couple of years and it didn't work. And this is them quietly admitting that, you know what, people do like physical buttons, knobs, and so on. So if you look down here, you've got your controls for the HVAC system. This was a touchscreen. And guess what? Land Rover's like, nope, didn't work. And I agree with 100%. Touchscreen controls suck. So this is still a touchscreen. If you pull it, something happens. Yeah. It is all till touchscreen, but you do have the knobs that matter for things like fan and so on. This is the new sort of Land Rover gear stick. It's a ZF 8-speed, so it's going to be like this. I don't know why they don't have gear sticks anymore, but this is the way it's going to be. I can't complain. It's pretty simple. Easy enough to use. Big P button down here, volume knob, start stop dot in the middle, start stop button in the middle. What's happening to my face? And terrain response. Remember the terrain response when it first came out? Used to have this like really, really chunky levers and knobs, keeping in mind the Range Rover ethos. Well, guess what? It's just a knob now that goes up and goes down. And it basically allows you to select your various modes, which this car will probably never get out of auto. You've also got downhill assist, which is basically the cruise control, and a low range. This car still has low range. I don't know who the hell is taking their Range Rovers off-road, but it is a few people apparently. You've got the AC fridge down here, which as always is nice to have. USBs down the center. It's all very deep. You can keep stuff in here, like an iPad, etc., and so on. So we've got the latest version of PV Pro, which we first saw in the new Defender. And to be honest with you, this is a very crisp, modern system. I had my reservations about it, but they've really made this a lot faster. So it just flicks through and does stuff very quickly. I can go through all of it eventually when I do a full video, but needless to say, you will never be bored. Like, you've got slope assist, which allows you to see exactly what angles you're doing, things like that, wade sensing. So this can obviously go through some serious puddles. It says sensors blocked, but it's a pre-production car, don't worry about it. Terrain info, which kind of works out where you are, and configurable terrain response, which allows you to do lots of other things. That's sort of the main car options. Hold on. Auto brake work. It's so crazy that setting up this car is like setting up your Mac now. You've got so many things to do. And you can have driver profiles that allow you to save the information and so on. But it is a hell of a lot for people who want luxury. The thing is though, the thing about Range Rover is you can just ignore all of it. Just put it in automatic, it'll do 90% of everything. Automatic AC, it'll be fine. Automatic terrain response, it'll be fine. There's no need to worry about it. And of course, you're going to have a bumping sound system for driving through New York or Dubai or wherever it is. It's going to be a crazy good sound system. So overall, I like the screen. I just wish it was set in the dash properly. It has this kind of strong character line. They want to draw your attention to this, and I kind of get where they're going for. This whole line runs across the entire dashboard. It creates a sort of visual strength. It links both sides of the car. I like the idea of it, and it just allows you a nice way to hide the vents. There are vents everywhere for airflow, but this is a nice way to hide it. It's beautiful, beautiful brushed sort of satin chrome finishes. The finishes absolutely peerless. It's a Range Rover, what we're expecting. It's not going to be ugly, and the interior is just a lovely, lovely place to be. So if you're sitting for long distances, I'm already instantly comfortable. Here you got the classic Land Rover thing, armrests. Everybody likes armrests that you can sit. Apart from that, not crazy about this two-spoke steering wheel. It's a little bit, Genesis, but two-spoke apparently is the new black. Everybody wants two-spoke. You still have touch controls down here, and they're still a little confusing, but hey ho, fully digital dash. Land Rover's been digital dash for the last 10 years, and that's just the way they are. Hopefully they're a little bit faster than the old ones. The old ones were a little bit finicky to use, and still are a bit finicky to use. What are you going to complain about? But pretty clear instruments, very easy to work with, and in general, this car is refreshingly lacking in gimmicks or G-jaws. This is sort of thing that goes, okay, this car isn't that difficult to get in and get used to. When I get into a new Mercedes, I feel like I'm being absolutely assaulted by technology. When I get into a BMW, I think I'm being assaulted by technology, and also the people who designed this weren't really interested in making it very human and easy to operate. But with Land Rover, full credit. The car is very, very easy to get acquainted with very, very quickly. It's very friendly. And I think that's the strength of Range Rover. They understand what they are, they understand who they are for. And it's never going to be dynamic, massive amounts of change, but the change you're going to see is going to be very meaningful. So yeah, it's just a nicer place to be. It's a more eco-conscious place to be, and it has the same power and it'll go to the same places. What's not to love? Let's talk about the final thing in this big launch of the new Range Rover, which is the SV version. And what does SV mean? SV is a way to bring unbelievable amounts of customization to your Range Rover, to the point where the lines between luxury and super luxury, between Range Rover and Bentley, are starting to get blurred. Welcome to the back of the Range Rover SV, or Special Vehicles division. Now this isn't about making them faster, it's about making them nicer. And obviously a Range Rover is already a nice place to be, but the SV takes it to another level. This sort of interior that makes a Bentayga look pedestrian. So what have we got in the back of this car? The exterior you've already seen. It's very nice, very tasteful, but the interior is just staggeringly opulent. Like, the word I had to use was, started with F when it wasn't fun. It's just so much legroom in here. It's a meter of legroom. Straight away, you're like, this is just unbelievably comfortable. It's better than some airline seats that I've been in. Everything, and I mean everything, is motorized and swivels and comes out. So for example, you need a table to keep your laptop, press a little button here, electrically glides out of the center console. Comes out here, comes out, flips open, left or right. Keep your laptop here for work, pass it to your colleague or friend or special friend, and they can keep their lunch and eat it. Just love the idea. It's a bit clunky, but it's a pre-production car. Don't hold it against them. Goes away. Now, your seats, you want cup holders. Where the hell are your cup holders, you say? Cup holders. Like magic. I really don't know how well this stuff is going to work in about 20 years, but right now it's really cool. And if you're thinking, okay, well, my legs are not adequately supported, I need some sort of footrest. Press the deploy button. Wait. This is a reproduction car, don't hold it against them. Check it out. Footrest. Of course, you can deploy the front seat and so on and make it a bit more comfortable. But yeah, footrest electrically deploys. And by the way, if you're feeling a bit peckish, maybe even a little bit thirsty, let's see if we can do the ultimate sort of party piece. The fridge. Where is the fridge? It's not in here. This is just a charging point for your phone, which you can actually got a very convenient little strap here just to keep it tethered down during off-road adventures. Where is the fridge? Open sesame. How Bond villain is that? You have an actual fridge back here with two glasses, which I hope Range Rover provides, and somewhere to keep your chilled arva. Because let's be honest, it's non-alcoholic beverages are not permitted in the Middle East. But it's pretty cool. So yeah, this is the one to get if you really, really don't feel like driving. And I think a lot of people will. But I'm still kind of a person that drives themselves, so the regular Range Rover is more than enough. But the SV version, it's going to be really, really expensive. How expensive? Yeah, we're not going to get much change from close to those 7-figure prices. But overall, that's my wrap up of the Range Rover. I've kind of talked about it. Can't tell you what it's like to drive. This is a static preview, but it has been an amazing experience. I think experience is the word they like to use at Land Rover. A Range Rover really is like nothing else. And all jokes aside, I think the Range Rover is one of those cars that you have to sort of experience, because you might think, well, why is it so expensive? Why did it start at 500,000 dirhams? Once you sit in it, you will 100% get that this is just about being truly stinking rich to the point where you do not want to be bothered by other people and you don't want to be bothered by things like speed. It makes perfect sense to you. And it is just such a nice, tasteful place to be. Can't wait to get behind the wheel. This is Imthishan. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all the usuals. But most of all, wait until I get the new Range Rover for a test drive.